Friends, how are you doing? I hope everyone is well. Let's talk about Open. Let's talk about BBAI, which not a lot to talk about here with that, but I've been getting a lot of comments today about it, and so I want to talk about it. So how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's well. It's Monday. The market opened up here. The market's been a little rough today. Only, besides SoFi. SoFi's been doing great. Obviously Wednesday is the day. Wednesday is the day what everyone is waiting for here. Everyone's waiting for Nvidia to release their quarterlies. Now, S&P is still at very beautiful levels here. It looks like it's still taking its way up here to, breaking records, on a monthly basis at this point. And, I don't want to reiterate a lot of things here, but, obviously rate cuts, all that, blah, 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 like we've been talking here. Now, Jensen talked a lot, and I'm not talking about Nvidia, but there are key things that are going to, control this week. Obviously, like I said, Nvidia quarterlies, and then the Feds will be talking about inflation this week too. So, Nvidia, when quarterlies come out this week, it'll be very interesting to see how big they beat quarterlies and how much this could drive the market, the S&P, everything up. Jensen talked a lot today about the future of Nvidia, and that was really interesting, in relationships with countries, stuff like that. So like I said, this isn't an Nvidia video, but Nvidia just controls so much of the market. I mean, it being the most expensive, the wealthiest company in the world, it kind of controls everything at this point. So it's going to be an interesting week to see how things play out here. I still think that, it's only Monday. The market wasn't terrible today. It was just kind of like, we just didn't really see a whole lot happen, but still, nonetheless, there's probably still going to be some push here. I would expect around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on how good, Nvidia quarterlies were to get people riled up again. So let's get into it. Let's just talk about BBAI here, BBAI, Big Bear here for a split second. Now, obviously, I mean, this has turned into like one of the most everyone was so happy to be a part of Big Bear. Oh my God, amazing. Just crazy conversation. Like it's split down the middle where people are like, God. And I completely get it. I'm still preaching the same thing I was preaching, 6 months ago, that this is going to be a hard relationship with Big Bear here until they get more deals. They need more contracts. Now, obviously, last week, they had this NFL deal boost, situation. It's not crazy, crazy big deal, but still, nonetheless, it's relationship, it's partnership, it's putting their name out there. And, Kevin put a whole speech out there talking about how this is going to further their business, all that kind of stuff. Yes, we're hoping so. Kevin, make it happen here. Kevin, the new CEO. Now, Big Bear has been sitting around this, this 5 middle ground range. And even last week, we had $6 there for a moment. We were playing around that area. But, now we've trailed. Big Bear here is kind of following the market. It's still doing better than I thought it would be doing. I mean, you got to admit, the fact that we're holding this 530, 550 range here, this is still pretty impressive. There's been a lot of articles come out here where they're still, neutral on Big Bear. Let's say neutral. And, not that you should invest by any means off articles, but they're interesting to see kind of what are the articles putting out there for, for people to read. They're very neutral. I think everyone is obviously in the same boat. We're just waiting to see if they can get more win and if they can get more government contracts here, or just more contracts in general. Anything at this point would help. Just some rando deals would really do a lot here. So there's been a few firms that have come out here, which is very interesting to, give updated price points of what they think the share price should be with Big Bear, with everything, to it right now. And last week, one released, $7 to $8, which I thought was like, that's pretty courteous, to be honest. But most of them have been like $4 to $6, and I think that's pretty, that's pretty fair right now with where Big Bear's at right now. Because Big Bear, much as I love Big Bear and it's been good to us, I will be hard on it. We need deals. It needs deals ASAP. It needs to get its revenue up to at least a minimum of a quarterly up to like $38 million quarterly, and that's still not even passing the expectation. What they really need, obviously, is like what would be like just change everything is obviously them to get in some kind of revenue of $42 to $44 million revenue per quarterlies here. That would be beautiful. The situation that we're in right now is that they've had a lot of aggressive deals here for the last 8 months. Well, more than that, 10 months, kind of where we're at right now, where we find ourselves in the market. But still, the stock is holding strong. We were in Big Bear here for around this high $3 to $5 position for a long time, and then when we got into these $6, $7, $8 ranges, it was a very back and forth aggressive trading, and now we're back in this $5 range here. So, I think obviously with good news, good movement for the market, Big Bear will undoubtedly probably push into, a higher $5 range. But if it can support this, even lower $6 range, I think, that's very possible at this point. But, the main thing I am asking right now for Big Bear, for everything right now, is for it to obviously deals. We need deals, and it would be nice if Kevin, the CEO, would talk more and just tell investors what Big Bear is doing. What are they going after? Do they have a sales team? What are they doing? What is going on in Big Bear land? And two, with that, is that the stock will just remain above $5. If we can keep Big Bear above $5, that's a great spot to go into deeper into this year, especially going into September here, if we can get some rate cuts really growing. And, listen, I know a lot of people, I swear I've made this clear, like, as much as I can. I know a lot of people keep saying that Big Bear is like the new Palantir. And, I definitely see the shadowing of where people are saying that, but, Big Bear and Palantir are 100% different companies, and I don't want that to make anybody upset, but it will. But I definitely say, yes, there are similarities of, pathways of what has happened here. Now, obviously, Palantir, even 2 years ago, was in a lot better situation financially than Big Bear. If Big Bear had executed this last quarterly, even if they had come out with just a quarterly that was like missing, kind of like Q1 here, where it was just $1 million short again, we probably would have remained around a high 6, 7 middle ground dollar range here. I fully, suspect we would have stayed around there. But, the fact that these quarterlies now have really shown where Big Bear's at, it was a little disheartening. So, yes, they need more deals, partnerships. They just need things to bring in money, wealth. And, like I said, hopefully, we continue to see higher volume be pushed in Big Bear once again. I know there's a lot of people still just buying Big Bear because they believe, you're either in this for the long run, or you're stuck in this right now, or you're going, can this, really turn into something here in the future? I see a lot of people on that front where they're going like, I fully believe the future of this market, the next 4 years especially, are really going to push into more security, defense. AI is going to really control the market. A lot of stocks that are maybe not doing so hot right now, but with more money being pushed into them, things could really aggressively change. I'm very much in the belief that Big Bear can maybe capture just a $50 million, $70 million, even, anything at this point would help. If they got a $20 million deal, it would do something, for God's sakes. So, we're waiting on deals like that. I'm hoping that Big Bear can kind of turn into what SoundHound did in 2024 and into this year for, maybe a year or two from now. That Big Bear can really turn their deal outcome a lot higher here, where they can just start really racking up some deals where we're just like, oh my God, they got another one. Oh my God, they got another one. But for short trading, day trading, this is still going to be what the stock is right now until it gets some more solid foundational news attached to it. 100%. But, yeah, I'm not looking at Big Bear like it's a dead stock whatsoever, because, here's the thing. People will badmouth it today, but if by the end of the week they come out and say, hey, we just got X deal, people are going to come right back. They're going to buy it. And it's just going to be what it is. It is a construction zone over at Big Bear. It is messy. It is dangerous. You're going to walk on nails. You're going to have moments of euphoria. You're going to have moments of like, oh my gosh. You're going to have moments of like, I'm scared of heights. It's just what is going on with this stock right now. Sad to say. It's just what it is. But still watching it like a hawk, 100%. So whether you're still just buying it, racking up shares of it, or you're just sitting strong in it, I completely get everyone's frustration, patience in it, wherever you're at with it, 100%. So talking about Opendoor here, this is a stock that has become the new, it's sad to say, it's become kind of the new aggressive meme stock out there. Something like what we saw with SoundHound last year, what we saw with Big Bear this year, and now a lot of people are looking at Opendoor Technologies here. And two, a lot of that is because of what the company is in, being attached to the housing market. Well, now we're talking about rate cuts, so it's getting a lot of push. Not to mention they just got rid of their CEO that not a lot of people are crazy about, and they're looking for a new one to really push in a new euphoria in the company. So talking about the stock itself, even today, this stock ran hard with the market. It started off just above $5, and then we ran, at 1 o'clock here, the stock ran to $5.77. So that was a very aggressive movement. Now, like the stock market sold off towards the end of the day here with some Nvidia news. Either way, I don't think this is that big of a deal what Nvidia said. But, the stock sold down to 4.54 here. So, this is probably what this is going to be, really. This stock right now, and the thing that is crazy right now about this stock, like there are articles out there, like I said, articles aren't that big of a deal, but it's very interesting to see what these articles are saying. They're out there saying, like, I found some articles today that like are fresh articles saying like Opendoor going to $10, Opendoor going to $15. I'm like, holy friggin' smokes. Now, obviously, I can give you a slew of positive, bullet points with this stock, and I can give you a slew of negative bullet points, just like any, small tech company, small stock here. Of course there's issues, and everyone's going to talk about them. So the big thing here with this, when we talk about the actual life of this stock right now, it's 100% that it's in this meme stock situation, and this isn't bad. This isn't me. I'm not being bearish on it. I'm not being mean to it whatsoever. I think there is plenty of money to be made on those kind of plays right there. Okay, I really do. Now, talking about the lifespan of this company, where's the stock going to be a year from now? Obviously we're hoping for the best, and but they're still looking for a CEO at this point, so it's kind of hard to say. It's very up and down. I think this is going to be what this is going to be with this stock. It is going to be a very aggressive push stock, more than likely for the rest of the year. I am in agreement, because listen, I went through the life. There's a lot of stocks that I follow that I don't even talk about, but stocks that I have talked about publicly that I've seen kind of do what Opendoor is in the beginning stages of doing right now, is like SoundHound last year, where we had just had these moments of aggressive pushing, okay? And then, towards the end of 2024, Big Bear really started to get a lot of attention. Then this year we had Big Bear being aggressively pushed. Just many moments of aggressive pushing. And now we have Opendoor here, where I'm starting to see the beginning stages of, it's in the zeitgeist. It's in this moment of a lot of people's attention. Investors are very hyped up about it because of everything it's attached to right now. So it's very much a situation of, I think this is definitely a, it's going to be pushed here. I think this is obviously going to be a stock here that is going to do really well in September, if from what we can assume we're getting rate cut. I want to pluralize that, but I'm just going to say rate cut. That it's going to do better off that. So yeah, listen, the company itself, I'm separating from the stock itself. Does that make sense? Or where I'm kind of like, putting the line down the sand here. I think the stock itself is going to be very, very manipulated. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to make people money. This could easily go back to 550, 570 tomorrow. it could trail back down to, the low fours. But I do think with the aggressive, outcome that we've seen so far with this stock, that nonetheless, we will see this stock 100%, do this up and down pattern, that keep doing these large camel hump patterns where, there's moments of big push, sell off, people take profit, and then we sell back down. This is probably what this is going to be here, especially going in September. And then, this conversation changes dramatically if we do get rate cuts here in September. Then if we get rate cuts, maybe some of those articles I was talking about, they actually might be true, because people are going to be buying into the stock just off of, well, this company is going to do better being attached to the housing market, things like that. So the rate cut conversation is a whole argument. I don't know. There's a lot of people that think we're gonna get rate cuts. There's a lot of people that think we don't. I mean, even Kevin Leary has publicly said, I think he said today or tomorrow, that he doesn't think we're getting rate cuts, which is okay. But obviously Jerome Powell was giving hints that, like, hey, it looks like we're going to do a rate cut. Either way, I think we are going to get rate cuts, because, Trump, once Jerome is out of there next year, regardless, Trump's going to put someone in there that's going to do rate cuts. Trump has made it. I mean, he's been talking about this before he even took office. He wants rate cuts. So I would be willing to bet we're going to get rate cuts at least by next year. Now, obviously, that's a long ways away. But September looks like we're going to see rate cuts. I mean, you can even bet on if we're getting rate cuts at this point right now in the market. And the poly market is very high on rate cuts at this point. So, friends, that is kind of what I'm seeing right now. Listen, I'm still paying attention to these stocks. If you're in one of them, in both of them, watch them. They're going to be very interesting stocks to finish out the year with. And, whether you're buying to hold, you're day trading, you're swing trading, whatever you're doing, your puts, options, calls, whatever you're doing, I totally think there's money to be made for both these stocks, 100%. A lot of people were betting for Big Bear at the beginning of the year. Now they're betting against Big Bear right now because of what's been going on with it. Now people are betting for, Opendoor here, but, just 2 months ago they were betting against it. So, this is kind of where we're at right now. It's a market of back and forth. Friends, I want to wish you all luck, everything in this market. Be careful out there. It's a dangerous market, dangerous world, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.